the reason why I wanted to talk to you, because obviously you don't specifically only work on fragrance, but a lot of your products have fragrance inside.
In 5 years, we grew over 12,000%,
Oh wow.
from dynamic blending, which is kind of crazy for a contract manufacturer. To be honest, we've had quite a few brands that started at 1,000, and a year later they still have 980,
Yeah.
and they've only sold 20 in a whole year. And you're like, well,
People
maybe
don't
this isn't the
realize how
industry for
tough it
you.
is. Yeah, people don't
Yeah,
realize how
exactly.
tough it is.
The following is a conversation with Jordan Erskine. He's a serial entrepreneur and co-founder of the company Dynamic Blending. They are a contract manufacturer who makes things like skincare, hair products, but also fragrances. So I thought it would be interesting to have him on a podcast and talk about how the industry looks like from his perspective behind the scenes. I hope you enjoy. Let's get right into it.
Awesome, Jordan. Thank you for being here on the podcast. Appreciate your quick response and your willingness to come on.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Camille.
You're in Utah, right?
Yes, Vineyard,
Okay.
Utah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my wife was just recently there. We were actually thinking to move there. I heard the hunting is pretty good in Utah. Do you hunt?
I don't hunt, but a couple people here at Dynamic do, and they just went out
Oh, okay.
a week or so ago. So yeah, hunting's really big here. Some good hunting.
Beautiful, beautiful landscapes over there, man. I mean, we're still considering. I have some friends that also entrepreneurs like yourself. They're
Mhm.
from there.
Mhm.
It seems to be a very entrepreneurial state in my mind. Like people are, you know, like in Florida, there's entrepreneurs as well. Especially now, everybody moved here. But I feel like everybody calls themselves entrepreneur. But in Utah, at least the people that I know, they actually build real companies.
For sure.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's just my environment. I don't know. But hey,
yeah.
you're a millennial, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we both, I assume we're kind of like the old school millennials, just barely got
Yep.
into that group. Um,
Yeah.
my background is industrial engineering. You obviously
Okay.
do manufacturing, contract manufacturing. How did you get into that? This
Yeah.
is not something that necessarily you find a lot of millennials in today, you would think. I mean, essentially you would
Right.
have to, but how
Right.
did you get into that? What's your story?
Yeah, crazy. So straight out of high school, 18 years old, I started working for a contract manufacturer close to home doing skincare, cosmetics, and it was a guy that lived in my neighborhood a couple streets away. And so he just, asked me, "Hey, would you be interested in, coming to work for me?" At the time, they had like 10 employees. That was a company called Wasatch Product Development. Now they're massive. I mean, they're probably at 450,000 square feet, and they're probably almost 1,000 employees. They're very very large right now. But so I started there. I worked there for about 5 6 years, learning how to formulate. Worked in R&D, worked in formulations. Everything from R&D benchtop up to scale up in large mixing tanks.
Mm.
Kind of worked through all the different areas, and then I left there and went to a company called Oratech, which is an oral care contract manufacturer. And what I did there was help them design a new facility for a new toothpaste line
Hmm.
for GlaxoSmithKline. And they obviously own Aquafresh, Sensodyne, Biotine, many, many brands. And so I started helping them design a full like formulation suite and manufacturing area. And then I actually ran the manufacturing formulation area for almost 10 years before I decided to start dynamic blending. So we were running about 3 to 4 million tubes of toothpaste a month there. So it was a very fast paced operation, 24/7, like 10 mixers, it was a lot going on. And
Right.
during that time, I went to school. I got my MBA in international business and got a lot of student loan debt between me and my wife. And just kind of had the light bulb go off, like I'm never going to pay off my student loans and achieve what I want to achieve working for someone else. So
Mm.
I got the bug since I had worked in contract manufacturing for so many years. I also knew like web design and SEO and all that stuff, and so it was kind of easy to, not easy, I mean it's obviously hard to make that jump from corporate America to being an entrepreneur, but in terms of just like me being able to wear many hats and design our website, do all of our SEO and kind of things that you'd normally have to pay outside groups for, I was just kind of doing everything myself with Gavin, my business partner. And so, between the two of us, we were able to do a lot. I mean, we grew in 5 years, we grew over 12,000%,
Oh wow.
from dynamic blending, which is kind of crazy for a contract manufacturer.
What's
grow that
the
fast.
revenue numbers, or how do you?
Revenue, yep.
Okay,
Total growth in revenue. So, and I think it's just because of the model and business model we've created is a lot different than what you see out there. And that was kind of the motivation as well to start my own company with Gavin and start our own manufacturing company,
got it,
you
got it.
know?
Yeah, so
So,
just for people to know, the reason how I got in touch with you guys is because I actually talked to, I was researching some fragrance manufacturers in the United States for one of my projects in the future, and actually they connected me with you guys because
mhm.
you know, back in the day when I was working with other companies, they would just blend everything together, even the sample size. And that guy here in the States, he so said, "Yeah, sure, we can create your juice, and then we'll just send you the concentrate." I'm like, "Wait," and then you expect me to like put it together and come up with the
Right,
final product? So no, that was great
right.
that we got connected. Really happy with your team
Definitely.
so far. So so I can see that, and also that's the reason why I wanted to talk to you, because obviously you don't specifically only work on fragrance, but a lot of your products have fragrance inside, right? Even would you say that toothpaste has fragrance inside? I mean, they have certain tastes, right? Does that qualify as
Yeah,
fragrance?
it's more flavor, you know.
Flavor, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, flavor, fragrance are kind of classified differently. Just
Okay,
flavors,
okay,
obviously, you taste.
got
Fragrances,
it.
you spray or smell. Yeah.
Gotcha. So
So,
yeah,
yeah.
obviously I wanted to talk to you about the business side of fragrance and the fragrance
Hmm.
industry as far as you can tell. I think you have a definitely a lot more insights than most of us. But first of all, you mentioned it a little bit, like how you approached your business in this old industry, I would say,
Yeah.
with your skill set. But in the end, like what gets you hyped when you walk into your own company? That like what kind of company did you build, and what do you plan for the future that really creates it in a way where people just want to work? Because I feel like that's something that's more and more important over the last couple decades, right?
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, for us, again, working for uh, contract manufacturers for so long, it was kind of easy to see what they were doing wrong and how the
Mm.
market was and maybe how I would do things differently. So when we, ventured off and started dynamic blending, one thing was just the barrier to entry, right? And that doesn't matter if it's for toothpaste, for cosmetics, for skincare, for fragrance and perfume. I mean, the barrier to entry a lot of the time is your minimum order quantities from your manufacturer, right? Like you go to a manufacturer and you want to start a new line, you don't know how well it's going to sell, how fast it's going to sell, and they're
Mhm.
telling you their minimums are 50,000 units,
Right.
right? Where our minimums are 1,000 units, and that's what we started at, and that's unheard of in this industry almost.
Mm.
The only other companies I've ever heard that do 1,000 units are like people that are filling in non-GMP spaces out of their garages or warehouses that aren't covered, not in
It's
clean
a
rooms. I
certain
mean, those.
certification, or what's non-GMP?
Yeah, so GMP stands for good manufacturing practices,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's called CGMP now. So current, they added the C
Mm.
for current. So current good manufacturing practices is followed by the dietary supplement industry, the pharma industry. I mean, basically anytime you're manufacturing, producing, clean rooms, anything like that, that's like the basic standard for the FDA. And that just
Okay.
details out like clean room policies, lab coats, hair nets, like don't chew gum, obviously, just all that
Right,
type
right,
of
right, right.
stuff is all roped into the CGMP processes. And so that's kind of like the minimum. So anyway, we started with 1,000 units and we are CGMP. We're actually OTC registered as well. And we take quality very serious. So, we tried to create this company where the barrier to entry was non-existent, but we also had all the quality certifications and all that experience on the back end from a quality standpoint that these brands would never have to worry about product efficacy or products failing or anything like that. And so because of our knowledge and also the people that me and Gavin have put on the team and director positions and stuff like that are very experienced, very qualified, just to ensure the maximum success for our clients. And
Mhm.
so we do other stuff too. Obviously, I mean, we make it very easy to work with our lab team. We have a 6,000 square foot R&D innovation lab where we develop products all day long. Hundreds of different product types, like you said, that we manufacture. And I'd say probably what gets me excited the most is just I think that just the free range of innovation that, me and Gavin are still the majority owners of Dynamic Blending. And
Mhm.
so we're not owned by private equity or venture capital like a lot of other manufacturers out there are. where they're really driven by numbers and percentages, and we're trying to build like this whole encompassing experience for a company, right? And it's a full turnkey experience. So you can come to us, like you said, with your fragrance idea. Let's say you don't even have a formula or anything, and our whole team literally can take it from an idea. They can blend it. They can, R&D the formula side of it. We got packaging designers and a creative agency in-house that can also do all your branding work. Custom glass. I mean, the very, very good, talented designers. And so we've tried to put pieces in place for every step of the process almost, to where we see that would be faster speed to market for our customers, right? Because normally you would go out, you would find a branding agency, or you would find a designer. Then you would have to go find a manufacturer. Then you got to go find a packaging supplier.
Right.
Then you got to, then you got to go find all these 10, and then you're managing it all yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're trying to make it as simple as possible by adding key pieces here and there. We have many plans for other ideas. Like, we want to add eventually like an Amazon power seller expert that we can farm out to our clients, that can help them and coach them and get them more sales and stuff like that. Because obviously in the back end, that's going to help us, right?
I have an idea for you that you could add, and maybe you have that idea already, but you should have some sort of like a bridge between potential products, because you obviously have the industry insight, and influencers or people that already have a customer base that's established.
Yeah.
Those are the two, right? Whenever I start a company, in whatever industry that is, really, I always want to make sure that I own the customer base already, or I work with somebody who owns it. Right? Because starting that from scratch is like a nightmare. That's why you see a lot of designer fragrances, because there's already brand name behind it, right? So it's the same with fragrance influencers or other influencers. I find that interesting. Maybe you've done something like this where you work with startups already or something. Yeah, but you have spun off companies, right? Or
and we actually are going down the path. We've got 3 different influencer group companies that we're kind of working with to see how we could partner.
Okay.
I mean, the tricky part is we don't make our own product, right? So we're not the ones that are benefiting from the influencer pushing this brand. So it's almost like we're just connecting the 2 dots for them.
Okay.
Because we're not obviously getting a kickback or anything like that. So it's just kind of tricky right now, but we are actively pursuing that, and that is obviously a very good idea, and nothing that other manufacturers are doing right now. So that's what we identify. But
definitely, like another thing that's new to the industry, I would assume. It's just like, I like your name, dynamic blending. It's not just the blending process, but just the way you act as a company. It's different. My life motto is to adapt and create, and I think you guys are kind of fitting into that very nicely. But talking about the market, you must have some supply chain issues, or what's the status there? Like, how has it been over the last couple of years almost?
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, like everybody, especially manufacturing, the cosmetics industry got hit hard, obviously, with like packaging and even raw ingredients. I mean, we're still seeing, ups and downs depending on vendors. Some vendors that are spread out very far around the world, they're having more problems, as obviously more domestic suppliers aren't having as many problems. But, we're still seeing, it ebbs and flows still. That I don't see of any. I mean, maybe we could say it's evened out, but what we're seeing a hard time with is like customer supplied or single source ingredients. Let's say like you have a proprietary ingredient or something like that in your fragrance or perfume, and let's say that single source supplier, something happens to their plant in Germany or Italy or Australia or China, right? And then that's what we've seen is some of these single ingredients. We're ready to produce, we're ready to make the order, but this ingredient's been delayed 6 months, and then it's delayed 4 months. That, what I mean? And so it obviously puts a strain on our relationship, even though our hands are tied. If it's something that obviously the customer signed off on, like that's their formula, we have to abide by that formula, and so we're at the mercy of the supplier, unfortunately.
Yeah, in general, I hope that coming out of this at some point, who knows how many years, we will actually see more manufacturing done in the States, the whole supply chain for various products. I think there's so much potential, and over the last couple of decades, we just got so accustomed to this outsourcing and global process.
Yeah.
You can see how difficult that can be. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, so I have a lot of people that often ask, well, two things actually. Number one, people want to have jobs in fragrance industry, and oftentimes when you think about that, they're thinking, okay, maybe I could just start at Sephora or something like that, something customer facing. But maybe you have
Yeah.
an insight where people could look behind the scenes, on the manufacturing side. What would you recommend to people look into? What does the work field look like in general? Do you have a lot of young employees?
We do have some younger employees. We're kind of lucky in Utah. We never really went through a huge labor crunch like other states did big time. Just because like what you said earlier, I mean, Utah is just kind of a hotbed for entrepreneurs,
Mm,
manufacturing. Even like the techie industry, which can get hit hard during recessions and things like that. But overall, Utah is generally like top 5 on the Forbes list for economies and
mm,
entrepreneurial and stuff like that. So there's a lot of dietary supplement manufacturers around us. So we never really had issues finding like labor or talented labor or anything like that, which has been good. But to your other question, I would say, I mean, this industry is extremely rewarding. Anyone looking to get into it, whether you started a manufacturer, learning that whole process because it's very valuable to work on this side of the fence. In terms of like, you have a brand, you're pushing it, you're selling it, you're teaming with influencers, but working for the manufacturer, whether you're in sales or project management or R&D or new product wherever, it's a whole different side of things, and
mm,
it's very valuable. I mean, like I said, I started 18 years old. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I really didn't. I didn't even have any plans to go to college or anything. I started working for that manufacturer, and it was awesome. I liked it. It was cool to
mm,
learn how to blend things and develop things because I don't have a chemistry degree. My degrees are all in business, but I have the experience, and a lot of cosmetic chemistry can come down to like an art form as much as the science itself. And so a lot of like the products you develop are more like an art form as well, than just your typical black and white science. And that's what's kind of fun about it, is getting unique with formulas and stuff. And so anybody looking to like jump into the space, I'd say it probably would be easier maybe to find and get a job at a manufacturer or even a fragrance supplier. There's
mm.
very large fragrance houses all around the country, even fragrance houses that have, their headquarters in, overseas, but they might have a office and a lab and a sales office in LA or something. And even
Right.
that would be very rewarding, working for, some of these big flavor and fragrance houses, and just learning that process is very valuable as well. And so that's the advice I would give. I would say that having that knowledge and background and then starting a brand or a business on the other side, I mean,
Yeah, I
you
think
you
you're
would
just so far
you would
ahead
go
and you know
crazy.
how the things
Yeah,
work.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yep,
know.
exactly.
I
And a lot of
started.
people don't, a lot of people that come to us, just real quick, a lot of our, smaller brands or people that don't really know this industry. I mean, we spend tons of our time teaching them, tons of it.
Mm,
And this is stuff that brands come to us and they've already done it. They already know. We don't have to teach. But
yeah,
when we're dealing with, the small mom and pops or the startups, and they're wanting 1,000 unit minimums, which is fine. We do that, but
right.
it's just we're trying to get better at how do we maybe even streamline or make it more efficient to teach, because
Mm,
when we teach, like, people don't understand this industry, and so sometimes there's like butting heads. It's like, well, there's nothing we can do. Like I just said, your ingredient that you made us buy from Germany is delayed 6 months, so what would you like us to do? It's like those type of situations, and
right.
trying to train and teach, and it's just like, so we're trying to streamline that and make that process easier as well. But having that background knowledge of manufacturing, working for a manufacturer, working on the fragrance side, I mean, the other good thing I'll say just real quick is this industry for the most part is recession proof. People
Mm,
don't stop buying toothpaste, they don't stop buying
right.
shampoo, they don't stop buying products for their dogs. We manufacture all that. We develop it all. So it's a very good industry to want to like venture into in terms of
Mm,
just health and overall economic stability. In my opinion, when COVID hit too, we were able to transition over to start manufacturing hand sanitizer obviously as well, and so we were able
oh
to
yeah.
stay open as a critical infrastructure business, because
Wow.
we're making products that people need. So again, all those factors are leading to like it's a good industry that's pretty safe on the recession side, as long as you're with a good company and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But again, people don't stop buying those products when
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love
things
that.
get tight. So
Yeah. The older I get, man, the more I want to work on stuff that's just boring and essential. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
It's
For
like,
sure.
dude, I started out literally in Hawaii. I don't want to talk too much about me, but I started out right out of university. Well, first of all, before university, I did an apprenticeship in a clean room environment manufacturer. So this is
Okay.
how the
Awesome.
circle, right?
Awesome.
So we were
Yeah.
selling basically those environments, whether those clean air filters or the whole room systems for the pharma industry or chip manufacturers. So it's kind of funny how that circle closes today. But after that, I started working on renewable energy, like trying to get Hawaii off of fossil fuel within the decade, like super aspirational stuff and venture capital. And now I just
Yeah.
want to do like, I mean, obviously something with fragrance because I like fragrance, but I would just love to be like a manufacturer for door handles or something like that, you know? Like, so, like you
Yeah.
said, something that's boring or maybe perceived boring, but it's essential and it's recession proof most of all. That's
Right.
cool.
Right.
Hey, so
Yep.
the next one may be a little bit too detailed, and it's fine
Okay.
if you don't know the exact answer. But a lot of people always try to explain the cost of what it costs to make a fragrance. Like
Yeah.
if you have a bottle that sells for like 100, 200, $300, there's a certain maximum of how much you can actually put into the bottle when it comes to paying for stuff. Can you give us like a
Right.
rough general breakdown how you would explain the cost of a fragrance?
Yeah. Let's see if I could do this. Yeah. Obviously, starting with the packaging, packaging, depending on how custom you go. Um, we've seen custom glass bottles as high as 3, 4, or $5 each. And obviously that depends on like the top, like the cap and stuff. Obviously fragrance companies or like celebrities, they just go crazy, right? Like Taylor
Mm,
Swift has all these little like hanging charms and things like that. And
right, right.
and we heard from one of those manufacturers, like that stuff's way expensive. That adds another $5 or more, it could on top of it just to add little
Hmm.
charms or hanging things and things like that. So it really depends on how crazy you want to get. I mean, you can get off the shelf glass where you could put a label or maybe screen print,
Okay, but
for around $1, 50.
right. So, but
And then,
make it a little bit more transparent because obviously that very strongly depends on, like you said, what you want and the quantities
yeah,
as
yeah,
well. But let's say like a fragrance like Chanel Number Five or Dior Sauvage, like the very popular high production numbers. Uh, Obviously a custom bottle, but that doesn't matter at that scale. What would you say in general? What's the cost of producing something like that?
oh, geez, a Chanel. I mean, we do everything by tiers. Like I told you, we do 1,000
Mm,
units. So
yeah,
if we do lower runs, which again, nobody touches 1,000 units for a reason. It's not efficient cleaning,
right.
changeover. All the documentation set up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a pain for just 1,000 units. So the economies of scale. When we run 1,000 units of some stuff, it's well over $10 on some stuff.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because of all the components and the other thing that people don't think about is the minimums that we have to buy. So if we have to buy our
Right.
minimums from a supplier, and let's say the supplier's minimum is a lot higher than what we want to buy, well, then we got to buy that overbuy, right? And so
Mm,
now we got to house it. So it's more risk for us
yeah.
versus doing a 10,000 unit run where we can order to the exact quantities. And then your bottle unit, could be $5 or less, depending on,
Right.
what the oil is, what the, alcohol, the bottle and stuff like that. So I would say, if you're looking at 1,000 units, you're probably going to be around the $10 to $15, maybe. Again, without
Mm.
knowing anything, I don't know. That's just the other
It's
thing
hard
you
to
got to keep in
pinpoint.
mind
I know.
too is, well, it's hard to pinpoint. The other thing I was going to say too is like people don't realize the cost of how much everything's gone up over the last couple of years too. We've had supply chain issues, but people
Mm,
think that we get big brands that try to pressure us because they want to keep their price the same in Walmart when
mm,
inflation's 9%, and all the suppliers have just increased their pricing 20%, but the
mm,
manufacturer has to stay the same, right? So we've seen some stuff that is just ridiculous in price at the lower quantities. But we, again, at the 5,000 units, 10,000 units, we're extremely competitive. That's where that sweet spot is of buying the glass, buying the
right.
oils, buying all that, and you're not having to buy that overbuy, and then you're getting that manufacturing efficiencies. But what I was
Mm,
going to say real quick is on the carton side. So with fragrance and cologne, like the cartons themselves, the glass goes in sometimes have 3 or 4 parts to it, right? And some of
Right.
those cartons we've seen increase from $2 to $7 each
Oh my
just
God.
for the
Wow.
just for the paper. So
Yeah.
think about labels, paper. I mean, all the carton paper has gone up. So think, and that's the other thing I was telling you is just like trying to explain this to people
Yeah.
and us stay in business when we're getting deemed 20% increases on XYZ oil or raw material or packaging
Right.
supplier, but then the brand comes to us and they're like, this has to be 50 cents cheaper. We're like, we're going to be out of business. We're not going to be able to do it at a loss.
Right. Right.
Right. So it's those kind of like fine tuning situations, but the value of us producing 1,000 unit minimums is nobody else will do it. It gets people's foot in the door. They can
Mhm.
test if they're even going to sell because, to be honest, we've had quite a few brands that started at 1,000 and a year later they still have 980
Yeah.
and they've only sold 20 in a whole year. And you're like, well,
People
maybe
don't
this isn't the
realize how
industry for
tough it
you.
is. Yeah, people don't
Yeah,
realize how
exactly.
tough it is. The thing
Exactly.
with our original brand, the Fragrance One, it was really exceptional success because we sold like 6,000 bottles right off the bat, and you could see it on. It's transparent on Kickstarter, right? And that's like
Yeah.
something I talk to people. They have their own niche brands, like not the really big ones, but the second tier niche brands. And you've heard of them, but they're not selling huge volumes. Like these guys and
Right.
girls, they fulfill from their own living room, their garage, whatever. It's
Yep.
crazy. Everybody
Yep.
thinks now that only because you have a website and an online presence, and sometimes you do the mistake to portray yourself as a company bigger than you are, then people just think that you are like raking in the dough.
Right. For sure.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Yeah, so definitely tough out there, but thanks for elaborating that on your side as well.
And
From
and and I don't. Yeah, and just another note too. I don't know what I'm sure the facilities that run those volumes that Chanel, Hugo Boss, Calvin Klein. I mean, they're running hundreds of thousands of bottles.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if their cost is well under $10. 5 to
right.
10 maybe. So that's probably just a
Oh yeah,
ballpark.
yeah,
Again, I have no idea what their costs are. I just know what our costs are for oils coming through here and things like that. So
yeah. I appreciate your thoughts on this anyway because I know
yeah,
you're in the business, so
for
that's
sure.
great. Looking at the industry in general, like, do you see any certain trends when it comes to fragrance? What you see from companies? I did notice that
Hmm.
there seems to be like a slight uptrend for like fragrance bombs. I don't know. What do you think? Have you seen anything interesting products that come out?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most interesting that I think will get more popular coming up is more on the men's grooming side, but like the
Mm.
solid stick colognes. We're seeing more of that become popular where people might not want to spray alcohol or anything like that on their skin, but like a solid stick cologne
Yeah.
that maybe has like a cocoa butter base or coconut oil base or something like that, where it's just easy, but you still get that fragrance. So we're starting to do quite a few samples and things like that. The other trends would still just be on the sustainable side. So, like the EU just the other day came out with a whole bunch of new regs for
For
perfumes
packaging,
and,
right?
and
Yeah.
fragrances for packaging, but also raw chemicals. They listed like
Oh,
6 or 7 ingredient or compounds that are kind of going to be prohibited now. And I think one of them was one that was fairly used quite a bit.
I
So,
think I might
when
have
the
read something
EU
about that.
changes, yeah, when the
Yeah.
EU changes regs, then kind of everybody else around the world follows in the fragrance perfume space what the EU does versus like the FDA with a lot of other products where most other countries follow our FDA on, but on fragrance perfume, it seems like a lot of that stuff on the reg side comes out from like Europe and the EU and stuff. And so still the big push for sustainable ingredients and ingredients that aren't harmful or toxic or carcinogenic, all that. And then even on the packaging side, just continuing to push the sustainability on recycled glass or maybe aluminum or different packaging options that are non-plastic there.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'd say those are probably the biggest trends. Scents tied to emotion, that's a big one now, obviously, as people are wanting to develop specific scents to sleeping or to happiness
Mm.
or whatever. And so that's kind of a trend, is to try to market your fragrance cologne and stuff toward those different emotions
Yeah.
or feelings. you
Do you
know,
guys do
is a big one.
aromatherapy products too, or?
Yeah, we do a lot of essential oil stuff. We do a lot of
Okay.
blends. We've worked with a lot of diffuser companies, so we do all that stuff too. And we're very versatile. I mean, like I said earlier, we have 11 facility certifications,
Hmm.
everything from OTC drug to USDA organic, non-GMO, vegan, all that, kosher, halal. So we really can do so many different product types within many
Wow.
different certifications.
I think I
You
have
know.
to get some sort of like a brochure of your entire like portfolio what you guys do, because I've been again, like I've been just kind of introduced to you guys. So far, only positive things to say.
Well, thank you.
But there's a lot of things that I've been thinking about in the past that could be made a little better than what's out there, and maybe with a
Hmm.
little bit of different twist. And so, yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on that. That's awesome. Hey, Jordan, you got a family? Do you have a wife and kids, or?
Yeah, I got a wife and 3 little kids. So I
Oh,
got a
okay.
7-year-old daughter, 5-year-old daughter, and a 2.5-year-old boy, which is he's just crazy right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm busy. I
That's
don't sleep a
cool.
lot.
Yeah, I believe that, man. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 1.5-year-old son that
Oh,
definitely
awesome.
keep us up. So that's good. But
Yeah.
how do you balance work and life?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's hard right now. We don't have executive assistants, so
Mm,
we're just going crazy right now. Like you said earlier. I mean, me and Gavin have quite a few other companies as well,
yeah.
besides dynamic blending,
What
that we've
else?
kind of
Yeah.
spun off. Nothing. Um, that we've kind of spun off. So nothing that directly competes to Dynamic or any of our customers, but just
Right.
other businesses. Like you said, we're entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You know.
It's infectious. Earlier, one more thing that what I noticed when you talked about your student debt and how you need to pay it off, right? But you can't pay it off with a corporate job. If you said that, I think you said something like this in the beginning.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like, obviously, I was raised in Germany, so we don't have the concept of student debt really. But it almost occurred to me that when you said that, for some reason, I feel like if you look at it in a way of being motivated to start something bigger than just working, because for me, I'm like a lifelong immigrant. I always wanted to come to the States because to me that's the country of innovation and entrepreneurship. For you
Yep.
guys that grow up here, you need some sort of like a kick in the butt, like student debt maybe, because that really makes
Yep.
you want to work, right? And
That's
so
true.
I don't know, it just kind of crossed my mind there. I thought I'll have to
Yep.
do that. So I'm
Yep.
happy to see that. Obviously, you took that in a positive way, and
Yeah.
very cool. Awesome, man.
For
Well,
sure.
that's about it from my side. I really appreciate
Okay.
you coming on. I think we have a lot of insights. I'll link your website in the description below. Guys,
Okay.
ask me any
Perfect.
questions in the comments if you want to have a apprenticeship or an internship. I'll forward you guys
For sure.
to Jordan. And yeah,
For sure.
man, thanks, and we'll stay in touch, and we'll see what we can do together.
Awesome. Thank you, Camille. It's been fun.
Jordan, have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
Yeah. You as well. See ya. Take care.
Bye bye.